Hey, everybody. It's Taylor with Church History for Chumps, and I'm joined with my two best friends, John Boombat Simon and Tom's Bombadil.
Nice. I got some scatting going on here.
No, that's good.
I didn't know how to do ska.
I don't think you knew how to do anything you did just now. I don't think you know what you're doing at all. I don't think you know what you're doing. No, that's fine. It's hilarious. This is hilarious. This is a great little riff. Wow. All right. I invite you. I'm looking up. I invite you on my podcast. on the day of my daughter's wedding.
Our podcast.
That's fine. That's fine. No, nothing is sacred anymore. That's right. That's what I believe.
I didn't say this is Baptist history for chumps.
You're darn right you didn't.
Yeah.
But our listeners did.
No,
they're looking forward to it.
No. Don't let the violent minority seize power. That's how Anabaptists happened.
Yeah, I think we have the Anabaptists in our chat. I got a shout out. We're always shouting out Spotify listeners.
True.
But we need to shout out Instagram commenters too. We had an Instagram comment that I just saw. Let's see if I can find it again. Yes, it's from our boy Ben Watson. Did we already talk about Ben's recent comment?
He's still alive, dude. I was worried about him.
Ben commented. He said, "Hello, chumps. It's your old bud Ben. Even though I haven't been active commenting on IG, I've still been listening to all the episodes. They rock. I will never forget the time you mentioned me in a podcast, comparing me to a Spanish conquistador who enslaves the people of Tucson. Thanks."
I don't even
love
remember
that.
Yeah, very Ben-coded comment.
I don't think I told you guys this story. If I did, I definitely didn't tell you on air. I preached a guest sermon about 6 months ago at a church that my wife used to go to for a long time. And as I was finishing, it's like you do a guest sermon, so it's kind of awkward, like the little meet and greet with people that you don't know super well. You're always like, "Oh, good job, Pastor. Thanks for coming by." And so I'm just kind of making awkward small talk with folks. And a lady, and one of the girls, she's like a college student who I think was visiting, and she was like, "Is your name John Simon?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Do you have a podcast about church history?" I was like, "I do." And she said, "Yeah, so I've never listened to it, but I have a friend in Phoenix. His name is Ben Watson." And I was like, son of a gun. But I also thought it was great that that's also not the first time that I thought I was going to be complimented on my sermon and someone just talked about the podcast instead. Humbling experience.
Yeah, they're like, don't quit your day job.
I'll tell you one thing I like. Your podcast. Certainly not this calling of yours. All right, you got me. So Ben Watson, good to hear from you, brother. I hope that Phoenix is I don't know, I hope it's not what I think it is. Yeah, dude. Also, Thomas, thank you for keeping up with Instagram. I dropped off the social media because I deleted all my social media apps for Lent. So I was like, yeah.
Ouch.
I was very
supposedly did that,
irresponsible of you.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, but we got Ben in the comments. We got some other people in the comments, so we'll be checking the Instagram more often. So if you're not following us on Instagram, we do that.
I check Facebook for all my boomers. Jacob,
right.
Shout out. Jacob DMs me. Jacob asked if we were still sending me to the Middle East on a mission trip.
Oh,
that's assuming that you haven't been in the Middle East this whole time.
Right, Jacob. I'm actually undercover with the IMB. Well, they say Near East.
Mm-hmm. IMB and IRAN. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
Iran. Yeah, no, we've had some good. We got a great comment from a guy named Isaac. First comment ever. It just said, "Great pod." And it was on an episode 40 episodes ago.
Thanks.
So I don't know what. Well, yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for finding it. Another gal named Chrissy commented on our 27th episode. Good gravy. It was the one we did on Nestorianism, and she very graciously pushed back on our assumption that Mary was a preteen. So that episode was recorded years ago.
What number
I do
is
not
that
remember
one?
what we said. It was on Nestorianism about Mary being the mother of God. Which
What number? What number?
27.
I just wonder if that's
You know,
no, it's not the same Chrissy. Okay, it's spelled different. Okay.
Okay, yeah. You know, that was also appreciate everybody hopping on, not necessarily to pick a side on the heated chump talk we had, but just praising that we were able to, you know, navigate it as buds, because I don't know if you guys know this, but me, Thomas, and Taylor, all three of us, we have some mileage on just arguing with each other, mostly off the podcast, but it's one of my favorite things. To be able to
Around a
disagree
hookah.
lovingly with friends is great. What'd you say, Taylor?
I said off the pod and around a hookah.
That's
Yes.
right. That's back when I used to be enslaved to
LM, you got what you
nicotine.
want. And okay, here's the other thing, listeners. If you want to have any say over, we're gonna do a break between First and Second Crusade, a short little break, a
Short
little
break.
little
Short
baby
break.
Baptist break, if
Yeah.
you will. And
Why is it a Baptist break?
because through
The
alliteration,
Baptists take breaks.
Gosh dang it.
Lots of
BBT.
no, a baby Baptist break.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
3 B's.
Sorry.
Anyway, LM guys, you guys have to tell us what to do, or LM's just gonna be like, can I
Gonna
get
run
an
the show.
episode on blah blah blah? And
Pretty
then
soon we're gonna be
just
sending him
say-
t-shirts. We'll make
We'll-
t-shirts called LM asked for this. That's all it's gonna say.
So if you guys have anything in church history you're curious about, you got to go into the comments and say it like this week, because
Yeah, let us know. Honestly,
coming up-
I some of our favorite episodes we've done have been requests from fans. So
I think
sometimes they're about things we've never even studied before.
I think that our listeners should go on and guess what LM's initials stand for. Drop that in the comments.
I'm gonna say about Lo Mama.
Ooh, mwah,
Lo Mama.
yeah.
Lamar, what's that called?
Lamar.
No,
That's what LM stands for.
Lamar.
I was thinking like Lamar Matthews.
Oh, okay. Thomas, what's your guess?
No, I was gonna do something like that too, like black name, white name. You know.
Ladravius Nichols or something.
Yeah, Latravius. I think that is one of the greatest skits ever written.
Oh yeah.
Key and Peele.
Dude, I was watching
Yeah.
ESPN the other day, and I was sitting in a restaurant. I looked up, and I'm like, "Is this an East-West skit, bro?" Because like it was showing a bunch of names, and it looked like the skit, man.
Yeah,
It's
Like I don't even recognize these names.
Tractherion, Tactherius. Like, it's so good. Ugh.
They are really good. They
Yeah.
are really good.
But thank you guys for all the support. We are actually we're trying to figure out how to accurately count our numbers because of the introduction of video, but we always go behind the scenes. I think we told you guys what we were at 3,500 kind of near the end of the year last year. We're looking at we're about 4,000.
Yeah. I
So
think
that's really cool.
Spotify, I think, is
4,000 a month.
Yeah. I think Spotify's given us a tiny little baby Baptist boost because we went to video. So that's awesome. That's super cool.
And
Plus,
probably our comments.
yeah. Honestly, that's a big part of it.
Guys,
a lot
our
of
comment
engagement.
section is like more lit than a lot of podcasts that are bigger than us.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and as always, if you guys wanna, if you wanna take this relationship to more than friends, you can always buy us a coffee. Because as much as we
Buy
love
yourself a
making this,
haiku.
you can get a free haiku. And honestly, we're gonna talk about the Siege of Antioch. I'll tell you this: our creditors are gonna be sieging our homes pretty soon if we don't get some supporters. So please,
Do you
Please
even
help
care
us.
about my children? Chump
yeah.
talk listeners.
Thomas can only feed one child for every donation we get per month. So
Do you guys know the
Think of
term
the children.
ham-fisted?
Yes.
isn't that what you guys bring to potlucks on Sunday?
I wish.
It's
That
a ham
sounds good.
fist.
A ham fist. That sounds good.
It's like a pork knuckle.
No,
Calm down.
we're not.
Calm
We're
down.
not Black Baptist.
A lot of black jokes today,
That's another.
Taylor.
That's
All right.
another. That's another good. Key
You know what
point.
it is? It's
You
because-
started the
It's
black
because
jokes.
Black History Month is over, and it's immediately like, all right, gloves are off.
Yeah.
Meat's
No.
back on the menu, boys. All right, Chitlin's back on the menu. All right, we're done. We're done. We're moving on.
Chitlins.
I'm half black. You can tell.
The last thing I'll say before we start, I went to a like a soul food spot when I was in Charleston. That was just near the airport. Just Googled soul food near the airport, and golly, man,
Goated search.
dude. Well, you gotta be like, I didn't want barbecue. You know what
He
I'm saying?
accidentally ended up at a South Korean barbecue place.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Best
here. Might as
bibimbap
well.
I've ever had.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so good. They were so nice, but it was definitely like you walk in and then there's like the little like cafeteria style, like you grab your plate and then you just tell them what you want on the plate.
Dude, I never knew there because I didn't know until I went to Birmingham last year that those are called
Birmingham?
meat and threes. Where
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
what it
you
was.
get a meat and three sides. I never knew that was like a genre, but I was fascinated by it, and it's so good.
Get some meat
The
and
best
treat.
part, I think, is it really just that when I've been to a few spots like that, and it just tastes like good home cooked food.
All right, we got to jump into the pot, but really quick, what's the best meat and threes if you got to do it? All right, Taylor, you pick a meat and three.
Oh, I see. Like an actual.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I hear you.
I did barbecue chicken, greens. This is what I got at the three sons. My three sons. I got barbecue chicken, meat greens, mashed potatoes, and mac.
All right, I'm gonna big back myself right now. I'm gonna do country fried steak, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, collard greens.
All right, good. Brisket,
Oof.
fried okra,
Oof.
Oh,
cheesy mash,
oh,
and maybe baked beans.
This man
oh!
cooked.
We'll
This
talk
man
about Big
cooked.
Mac.
Tommy owned us. You didn't have
Yeah,
the
that was-
greens though, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
greens are essential.
You got
all right,
that
we're
on the
12 minutes
side.
in. One thing I also love about Spotify, they break up all of our episode chapters, so we don't have to tell you guys when the banter ends. You can just click it.
Welcome to all the people that have skipped the banter.
That's right. Welcome to the show. All right, we're on the Siege of Antioch, guys. We for all the Crusade talk, we haven't gotten a lot into just the nitty gritty of warfare, and that's what we're finally doing today. And good gravy, there's a lot to talk about. So, yeah, let's jump in. So, to kind of catch you guys up, we've been going through the Crusades since the beginning of this year. We kind of set the table talking about the major parties. We've of course got the Islamic armies. We've got the Abbasids, the Fatimids, the Seljuk Turks, who are kind of the big bosses around right now. We have the Western Christians, also known as the Franks. That's where the Crusaders are coming from, in kind of this scattered confederacy of European states. We've got the Byzantines, the Eastern Christians under Alexios II, the Grand Emperor of the Eastern of the Byzantine Empire. And yeah, so we've talked through a handful of things. We got into the People's Crusade a couple of weeks ago, which was basically a bunch of farmers trying to be warriors and just
Following
making an absolute
Jews.
fool of themselves while killing some Jews along the way. We got into a great portrait led by our good friends Tommy Diesel about our good guy Godfrey of Bouillon, who was a man of piety and character, which, good gravy, we needed a little piety and character. So today we're doing the Siege of Antioch, which is the first, and I would argue most essential major battle of the First Crusade. So let's get into it. If there was one silver lining to the People's Crusade, it's that it set the bar of expectation astronomically low for what the Crusaders were capable of. A stunning failure by all accounts, the People's Crusade had convinced the Islamic armies that these Europeans were nothing more than hordes of peasants with butter knives and pitchforks. The first major battle the Crusaders faced was the Siege of Nicaea. Yes, that Nicaea. Which remarkably went pretty darn well for the Crusaders. Siege only lasted over a month, and while the eventual skirmishes did have some pretty heavy casualties on both sides, the Franks were feeling confident as they trekked onward, one city closer to Jerusalem. One notable count, who we'll actually be talking about a couple times, Stephen of Blois? Blois? I think it's Blois. He wrote to his wife a letter and he said, "My dear, things are going so well that I believe that as long as Antioch doesn't hold us up, we should be in Jerusalem in 5 weeks."
Ooh.
Man, they say the Lord laughs when we make plans, and God may
They
have been
didn't have
chuckling.
Cauchy bets back then. 'Cause boy,
That's
was
right. Yeah. Somebody would have made some good money betting against that claim, because hold them up, Antioch most certainly would. The Siege of Antioch would last from the middle of October in 1097 until the end of June the next year in 1098. That's 8 grueling months. That would include massive losses of life, widespread famine and hunger, incredible supply shortages, and waves upon waves of desertions. Low morale was everywhere. It would be by far the greatest test to the Crusaders. And ultimately, the Crusaders would triumph against the odds with a combination of military finesse and a holy artifact helping lead them on to victory. So let's begin. Siege of Antioch. Fascinating story. Real excited to get into it. Now, for us casual fans of church history, Antioch should be a name that rings at least a few bells for us. I'm going to put Tommy and Tay on the spot real quick. When you guys think Antioch, especially with our long series on the early church we did last year, what springs to mind, or who springs to mind?
first organized church outside of Jerusalem.
Bang. Yeah, from 3, Tommy with that one. Yes, Antioch believed to be the first non-promised land established church, believed to be established by the Apostle Peter. Taylor, what else?
One of the big boys in the patristic era was there.
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose. Was it? No, Ambrose was in Milan.
Yeah, that was Italy. So it was think 2nd century. He was a martyr.
Oh, Polycarp was from
Smyrna.
Smyrna. Dang it.
7 letters. Not in the name. He wrote 7 letters.
Oh gosh, the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Oh, he did a tour. He wrote to the Ephesians a bunch.
Yeah,
he did his
Iggy
world
Pop.
tour.
Come on, man.
Ignatius.
That's right. Ignatius of Antioch. Yeah,
Iggy Pop was too much of a hint. Thank you.
I gave you everything I could.
Yeah.
So very, very historically significant. But what you might not know is that Antioch was also a very significant economic and cultural hub, a very big, important city in Byzantine. It was in Syria at that point in time. Antioch is in modern day Turkey, though. So I guess kind of in that eastern Anatolia, Asia Minor, that kind of deal. And so Antioch had been, very, very important. And we already talked a little bit about how Alexios was Alexios II, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. He kind of had this interesting relationship, and we're going to see some things develop as we talk about this. He's got an interesting relationship with the Crusaders. He is kind of hoping that the Crusaders are just going to be a fun, free army of mercenaries that can swoop in and just take back a lot of territory that he'd lost. So he was pretty psyched about it. The problem is they didn't have really clear set boundaries as to what they expected from one another, and that's going to kind of bite them in the butt a little bit. Antioch... Absolutely. Antioch historically, big part of the Byzantine Empire is going to fall to the Muslims in the 7th century, back when they have their first big explosive growth period. The Eastern Empire will reclaim it in 969, but just about a decade before where we're at today, in 1085, the Seljuk Turks, another big Muslim army, is going to overtake it. And so, like, Alexios, you just got to imagine, is like licking his lips, just like, man, if those Crusaders could take back Antioch and give it back to us, that would be freaking awesome. And so the Crusaders, riding high off of a great win, nice, neat, and tidy win over Nicaea, are going to venture towards Antioch. And the first thing they're going to acknowledge is that this place is freaking massive. It is gigantic. I'm going to read a quote from our friend Thomas Asbridge. He says, Antioch lay nestled between the Orontes River and the foot of two mountains, Staurin and Silpius. In the 6th century, the Romans enhanced these natural features with a circle of some 60 towers, joined by a massive enclosing wall 3 miles long and up to 60 feet in height, running along the banks of the Orontes and then up and across Staurin and up Silpius's precipitous slopes. Hundreds of feet above, thank you, Tommy. Hundreds of feet above the city proper, near the peak of Mount Silpius, a formidable citadel crowned Antioch's fortifications. By the late 11th century, this defensive system had been weathered by time and ravaged by earthquakes, but it still presented an awesome obstacle to any attacking force. Indeed, one Frankish eyewitness was prompted to write that the city would, quote, dread neither the attack of machine nor the assault of man, even if all mankind gathered to besiege it.
Helm's Deep.
So they're just immediately like, all right, this is not Nicaea. This place is gigantic. And yeah, it's because it's been such a stronghold for hundreds of years, it's been built like a stronghold. So it's not at the height of its prime anymore. Like it said, it's been weathered by time and ravaged by earthquakes, but this is still like gigantic. A wall 3 miles wide along a river and mountains, and up to 60 feet high. That's crazy. So the Crusaders basically have to gather and decide how the heck are we going to tackle this big boy. So the first thing they rule out is like, okay, well, we can't do an all-out attack. They didn't have the craftsmen who could assemble necessary things that would help out in an attack like this, like scaling ladders or movable towers. And frankly, they didn't know the situation they'd be walking into. So they decided to take the crock pot approach, slow and low. Also known as the partial blockade. They basically, what they planned to do was they kind of segmented off their armies and they took up positions to block off as many of the gates as possible leading into the city. Their hope was to basically, it's a war of attrition. They want to cut off their supply to food, water, weapons, especially like reinforcements. They just want to block out any input or output to the city to starve them out and eventually just force them to surrender. The problem, or maybe not the problem, but just an issue they're going to have is that sieges are not battles of brute force. It's a battle of discipline. It is going to take a lot of both physical and psychological endurance, because even if you're the besieging party, you're also affected by that shortage of supplies. And if you don't have a good supply chain yourself to replenish what your armies need, you can be starving just as badly as the people inside the city. Tommy, did you want to add something? You look very inquisitive right now.
Nope, just enjoying the story.
All right, cool. So there were small scale skirmishes happening around the walls. So it's not like they didn't just get there and camp outside. There was some fighting happening, but it was on pretty small scales. The big battle was the Battle of Waiting. I think it was Asbridge who also said that because this was a battle of morale, both sides kind of utilized dirty tactics to try to demoralize their opponents, which they were both pretty lousy. What the Crusaders would do was after they would have like a small battle and kind of like, account for their dead, the Turks would send people out from the city walls and they would bury their dead. And again, we talked about how the Seljuk Turks never really internalized like a lot of Islam. It seemed like their conversion may have been more political than like deeply spiritual, but we do know that Islam values burial, like a prompt burial, as a very high thing for them. So what the Crusaders would do is they would just dig up the dead Turks, and they would like cut their heads off, and they would stick their heads on lances and kind of of parade them around, and sometimes they would dig the bodies up, cut their heads off. A lot of beheading in this story, so keep that in mind. And then they would, they dig up a dead Turk, cut its head off, and then throw the body off a cliff, just to be like, hey, just to get at them.
I can't remember
in
if it was
response,
at Nicaea or Antioch, but I do know at one point they catapulted a bunch of Seljuk heads into the city, like you see in The Lord of the Rings.
yeah, I read. I
the
think
orcs that do that though, Tommy.
Yeah, like I said, like you see in The
Tommy's
Lord of
like,
the
yeah.
Rings.
Yeah.
I did. I think I read
Standard siege
specifically a
tactics.
story that I think was Nicaea, where the Crusaders catapulted a guy and he didn't make it over the wall, so he just just it was awful. he was also not dead. He was an alive prisoner of war.
Oh man.
Can you imagine
Only they'd
how
heard about the
awkward-
Geneva Convention. Oh no.
Can you imagine how awkward that is? Like, let us strike terror into them, and this guy's like, "Oh
It's
no!"
just
And then
like-
the captain's like, "Fire!" And then they launch him, and he
Like
just doesn't even
omelet
clear the
on the side of the wall.
And the
just straight
captain's
Wile E.
like-
Coyote.
captain's like, "Come on, guys!"
Oh man. Oh shoot. Yeah. So yeah, some good, just some good, little Bible study activities, just youth group stuff happening here. In
my
response,
gosh.
the Turks would the Turks had another problem, which was Antioch, as we know, has a historical population of Christians and has for a very, very long time. And so they, knowing that they're being besieged by Christians, got super paranoid about the Christians who were in their city. It seemed like in some areas they would be like, all right, you guys need to leave. You can chill with the little army outside, assuming that you're like cool with them. After this is over, we'll welcome you back, but we can't really trust you not to betray us. In more severe cases, there are definitely stories of Turks just straight up slaughtering Christians. One is that they kind of, when they saw what was happening to the Turkish bodies outside the walls, they imprisoned and would basically beat the Antiochian archbishop. Like they beat him with rods and stuff like that. I mean, it sucks because they have, there's a lot of opportunity to persecute and do awful things to Christians in a situation like that, and the Christians don't really have any way to defend themselves, so that really, really lousy.
I want to say I read there was some way that I think it was in Antioch when they eventually get in, there's a way that the Christians identify themselves. I think it was by saying Kyrie eleison in Greek, which helped the Crusaders know that they were Christians.
I've got some very unfortunate news when we get to that part, but that is possible. Again, it's a big story. But yeah, so the resulting months were honestly really, really awful. Like we said, this is a war of attrition. There was one letter, I think it was from that Stephen of Blois guy. He wrote a letter to his wife where he was basically like, yeah, dude, they told us about these Syrian summers, but Syrian winters are awful. It was cold and miserable. And when they were in the winter time, it was really, really hard. Estimates say that around that time, like 1 of 5 of the Crusaders were killed just from deprivation, just from exposure. So yeah, something that we're going to say a lot of times in this episode is that morale was just down. Everyone was kind of freaking out. And again, like they just had this awesome victory at Nicaea and they kind of assumed it was smooth sailing. Like I said, one dude was like, we got 5 weeks to Jerusalem, baby. We're going to be there. And then, they're suddenly stuck outside the city and they are freaking out and they're starting to wonder, like, has God abandoned us? Did we do something wrong? There's kind of conversations from some of the priestly leaders in their masses, like, you guys might be sinning, and God needs you to clean that up. I did read that they expelled the women from their camps because they saw them as like attracting the wrath of God in their ordeals. So long, slow,
so
brutal
hard
wait. Yeah.
we really don't want to judge. We want to just be objective observers. But
We
man,
listen, we don't judge.
yeah, that's right. The siege isn't going well. Well, it's the women. Or sorry. Oh, it is the women folk. Oh. They must be expelled. Oh. Like,
Good.
couldn't be anything else.
Yeah, it's not just warfare. Like, it's not like war is sometimes slow and painful.
Right.
But again, there's going to be a lot of this. Like, and this is definitely not exclusive to Christians, but there's a lot of kind of pining for spiritual significance in what's going on. And that's going to bring them down, but it'll also bring them up pretty soon. But yeah, so slow, brutal wait. The months are moving by very, very slowly.
Why did they need Antioch?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think they needed it. Ah, that is a really good question. Hold on.
From the way I understand it, like if you passed Antioch and didn't take it, that's going to pose a pretty significant strategic disadvantage to you, having Antioch at your back, being Muslim controlled, Seljuk controlled. So if you just like went around it, I think that would have been a really bad call for them to be kind of trapped in between Muslim forces. Like they're kind of making a march down towards the Holy Land, and this was a pretty big stronghold for the Seljuks, so it needed to be cleared up first before they could move on. It also may have been like part of the deal, like yes, they're there to help the Byzantine Empire. Some of these guys really want to get to the Holy Land, but that was one of the objectives, was to liberate Anatolia for the Byzantine Empire. So it would have been kind of, I think, probably dishonorable for them to have just bypassed it on the way to the Holy Land.
Yeah, I read. It seems like there's a little bit of controversy around whether they needed to take it or not. There were some that was like Antioch was on the main road to Jerusalem, so it just made sense. Like it was on the way. But I think that there was probably some political pressuring from Alexius. Again, he's trying to use the Crusaders as mercenaries, and there's a lot of political, currency in getting back Antioch. But I also think a part of it was, and this is kind of where we get into some of the political squabblings amongst the Crusader leaders, like Raymond of Toulouse and Bohemond, is that it seemed clear that some of them wanted their own principality. Like they did not intend on returning these territories to the Byzantines, and that's going to become very clear pretty soon.
That's exactly right.
They wanted to expand Latin territory, basically.
I think another aspect is like a supply chain thing, where as they're moving through Christian lands, they're being supported by those lands. That's why they had to go in waves, so that the countries they were going through could supply them on the way through. But once you're in enemy land, they're not bringing bread out to you in a basket. Like one way to supply your armies is by defeating cities along the way.
Yeah. I mean, I think they could have. I think you could make an argument that they didn't need Antioch on a military level, because the biggest thing was the Byzantines had a massive navy, and they had a lot of opportunity to resource them just through using the channels of water, because that's what they're actually going to do throughout the Antiochian siege. So, but again, like it is not uncommon to conquer several places along the way to
That's a fascinating question, Taylor. It'd be fun to look into more.
So again, long, sluggish wait. They're fighting famine. They're fighting occasional Muslim reinforcements from small armies from places like I was gonna say Jaffa, but that's definitely
Abu Dhabi.
Not Abu Dhabi, no. But they're fighting, small Muslim reinforcements. There is an interesting. This is I don't know. This feels like something that would happen in like an MCU movie. This is like a strange like foreshadowing moment where they're going to interface with a small diplomatic group of the Fatimids,
Mm-hmm.
which is, if you remember, the Islamic dynasty that is not based in Baghdad but is based in Egypt. And they, who do not like the Seljuks because the Seljuks are allied with the Abbasids, who are their mortal enemies because they're Sunni and Shia divided. They're going to interface with the Crusaders and basically just be like, we might be able to kind of work something out here.
Dude, I would love to know what the Fatimid scholars thought about the Crusaders.
I'm sure there's something out there, man.
There's
I'm sure
good
there is.
There's good primary sources on this. I'm bummed I forgot my book today. I read some of the quotes from it last week, but we have, because Peter the Hermit was part of these negotiations, and so he recorded them, and what you have basically is a big like misunderstanding between the Fatimids and the Crusaders, where the Fatimids are like, well, uh, why are you doing this? And the Crusaders are like, you took our stuff. You know, like it's an argument over just war theory, really, is what it is. And the Crusaders are saying they had a just war, but they didn't understand each other.
That's interesting. Yeah, my understanding was that they had kind of agreed. So it seems like the
That may
Fatimids
have
were.
been. I'll give a caveat really quick. That may have been a discussion between the Seljuks and the Crusaders, but from the way you're describing it, from my memory, I think that was the negotiations with the Fatimids.
Yeah, my understanding is that the Fatimids, the conversation didn't go very far. It seems like the Fatimids were basically like, we could potentially offer you guys some support if you want to take Antioch, because Antioch belongs to the Seljuks and we don't like the Seljuks. But they wanted to stipulate,
You
we
can't
are
come to
willing to
Palestine.
potentially assist you if you skip over Palestine. And just leave that, because the Fatimids were actually about to capitalize on the division in the Seljuk ranks, and they're going to take Palestine, which includes Jerusalem, like the year before the Crusaders are going to get there. So they're kind of looking at how they can help each other by helping themselves, but the Crusaders are not going to agree to not take Palestine.
Yeah,
That's the whole reason they're
they
there.
all want Jerusalem.
Exactly. So
okay, one more question. Where's the main Seljuk fighting force at this point? Is it
that's
is
a
it
good question.
is it over in Anatolia doing other stuff? Because I'm wondering, because like, why are they just letting the stinky white people sit outside Antioch for?
They're not. They keep coming with armies.
Something big is about to happen. So yeah, I'll answer that because it's actually right next to my notes. So summer of
Okay.
1099, they've been sieging for about 7 months. The problem with reinforcements was that a lot of the Seljuks were fighting each other. And so I forget the names of the two cities, but there's basically two Anatolian cities that are close to Antioch. And the reason they couldn't collaborate on their reinforcement to support Antioch was because they were beefing with each other. They were in a civil war at the time. So they were all frazzled. The problem was Baghdad is where the Abbasids are based, and the Abbasids and the Seljuks are homies, and Baghdad is about to send a massive freaking army to squash these Europeans. And so what's going to happen is, in like May of 1099, they've been sieging since October. They're going to get news that a massive army of Iraqi warriors is basically headed to Antioch, and they're like, we're stuck here. A bunch of our people have died. We still can't break into the city. We're basically going to get sandwiched. So they're like, we need to make a decision really freaking fast here. So they're like, all right, we got to figure something out. Then our boy, the boy of the hour, Bohemond, is going to be like, well, I mean, I might have an idea, but let's say I did. I mean, we can all agree, forget the Greeks, right? And everyone's like, yeah, forget the Greeks. And he's like, I just think that if one of us was to maybe have a really good idea and could take Antioch, then maybe that person should be like in the front running of maybe being a prince of this place. And everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense in theory. I think that's totally solid. And then Bohemond's like, all right, cool, because I actually know this dude. His name's Firuz, good buddy of mine. He is a tower commander for the Muslims in Antioch, and he is super down to betray the city. And that's what happens. And so at the drop of a hat, they basically plan out this covert mission where they equip Firuz, and they probably send in some, I don't know, some double agents, Crusader spies.
Dude, Bohemon's a CIA asset handler.
100%, dude. And this dude Firuz, who I'm sure Thomas probably has some information on. I think he was either a Christian who converted to Islam or a Muslim who converted to
I
Christianity.
think he was a Christian who had converted to Islam, but he was unhappy.
Unhappy, yeah, not a fan of the new CEO. So yeah, he conspires, and on the 2nd of June, they launch a mission involving stealth and deceit, and they're able to open a large gate from the inside in the middle of the night, allowing the Crusaders to just freaking like storm the city and take it down. This to me, I know we're, a lot of negativity. This to me is maybe the perfect encapsulation of what frustrates me about this whole deal. In the ensuing mayhem, so like you're like, there's like Armenians and Greeks who are native Antiochians, and they're like, oh sick, the Christians are here, let's go. And so some of them like join the fight, and they're like, we're gonna take down these Muslims, they've been beating the heck out of us, this is awful. And the Crusaders are gonna go so crazy that they will kill some of the Christians, not knowing that they're not Muslims. There's an account, a first-hand Latin account, that says they were sparing no Muslim on the grounds of age or sex. The ground was covered with blood and corpses, and some of these corpses were Christian Greeks, Syrians, and Armenians. No wonder, since in the darkness they were entirely unaware of whom they should spare and whom they should strike. So, gosh dang it. Once again.
Maybe you don't just slaughter civilians under the cover of night. Maybe that's just a good war practice.
I mean, again, this is a privilege of hindsight that we have, but yeah. There's some downsides to slaughtering.
Remember
civilians.
The whole we listen and we don't judge. We look, we can judge a little bit, but also I hate to say it, everybody, but this was just kind of how it worked back then.
Yeah.
If you took a city, everybody went in and just went buck wild. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that's how they did it.
Well, because there's a lot of looting that happens too. Because you got to remember, like the more materially minded of the Crusaders, and this is the case of every army, when you think of sieging a city, the first thing you want to do is take stuff. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, they're a bunch of thieves. Like, no, like that is part of like you establishing your livelihood. Like, it's about what you can pillage. And so pillaging a city that your army has just conquered was very much commonplace. I don't think it's quite sanctified, but again, we listen, we don't judge. All right, moving on. One day after the city is taken, the giant freaking Muslim reinforcement army arrives.
No way.
And so this is like incredibly disappointing because they took the city and they're like, this is amazing, this is great, God is with us, hurrah, hurrah. But the problem is they've been sieging this city for 7 months now, so it doesn't have any supplies. They've already worked through all their food and all their stuff, and so they conquered this city, but they're like slightly better than they were before. And as soon as the conquering army gets there, they're just like, oh sweet, they're like skin and bones in there, we're gonna take our time. And so the general of this army, gosh dang, what was his name? His name is Kerboga, which is a gnarly name. He takes it real slow. He stations his like main command center like a few miles outside of the city, just so they can get like a nice everything that the Crusaders couldn't do. The Crusaders could only do a partial like kind of encircling siege. These guys, they did everything. They did everything nice and slow. They had the power, the manpower, all that jazz. So a question you might be asking, which is a very reasonable question: what the heck happened to the Greeks? This is a great story, and unfortunately, a very disappointing story for our soft-hearted ecumenical listeners. So one day before the city fell, Count Stephen of Blois is going to lead a troop of deserters. And again, like, not only are they like skin and bones at this point, but they also believe that they know that army is like days away from getting there. So they're like, all right, we're done. He's like, I'm not going to let my men be slaughtered here. We're going to head back. And so on his way back to Constantinople, Count Stephen and his men are going to run into the Emperor Alexios and his own personal army who was charging in as reinforcements. And he's basically like, bro, I'll be honest.
Dead.
Yeah, like he's like, by the time you get there, they're going to be dead. You're going to lose people. It's a lost cause. Don't even bother.
No.
And so Alexios is like, remember, Alexios, like, he's a politician, man. Like, he's thinking like, well, shoot, like, I really wanted to get Antioch back, but it seems like it's a lost cause, and maybe we could help him out, but it seems like it's not really worth it. And so he kind of weighs his own goals, and he's like, we'll pull back. No big deal.
Turn it around, boys.
Turn it around, boys. Let's get out of here. The problem is that when word of this is going to get back to the Crusaders just go livid. And they're just like, those filthy freaking Greeks, they betrayed us. They said they were going to help us out, and they didn't. And they're a bunch of punks. And we've already talked about the West thinks the East is a bunch of hoity-toity snobs, and the East thinks the West are a bunch of smelly Europeans. They already don't like each other, and now they super don't like each other. Interesting thing is, one of my historian friends that I've been reading through, Mr. Christopher Tyerman, said that it actually is a bit of an exaggeration to say that the Greeks had abandoned the Crusaders because, like we said, the aforementioned Byzantine navy had been providing constant support to the siege at Antioch, just not with a lot of military manpower. So would this have been a game changer? Absolutely. But had the Greeks been like totally abandoning the West? Not necessarily. But the optics looks real bad, and this was going to do a ton of damage to
Tommy.
the
Greek it's like a where was Byzantium when Antioch fell?
Yeah.
Dude, this is like literally the books that I've read have said, like, when Constantinople is sacked, like generations from now, this is the kind of thing that's going to go down. Like, this is going to go into their brains as like, when our men were like fighting tooth and nail, the Greeks bailed on us. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, so back inside Antioch, gosh, once again they're in places of dire straits. They're in absolute despair. They're like, we're gonna die, we are gonna lose, this is awful. And then something happens that could only encourage the heart of a true 11th or 12th century European, which is supernatural occurrences. I think on the 14th day of June, they see a shooting star appear over their camp, and it kind of descends over where the Muslims are at, and they're like, whoa, maybe that's God being like, I'm gonna drop some stars on these guys. Okay, cool. There's another incident where a guy named Stephen of Valence, while praying in the Church of the Virgin Mary, experienced a vision of Christ where Jesus tells him that in 5 days he's going to provide basically what they need to assist them. And then, in a way that could not be like exaggerated, like, this young peasant French kid by the name of Peter Bartholomew is going to say, around that same time that Stephen has these visions, he's going to say that he saw visions of Saint Andrew, where Saint Andrew had said that he needs the Crusaders to be practicing their penance because there is a holy object that they will be able to find in 5 days, and if they find it, it will certainly lead them to victory. So 5 days later, these dudes are looking around, and they're like, all right, let's look in the Cathedral of St. Peter. And they're digging around for stuff, and they find this like shard of steel. And they're like, this is it. This is the holy lance that pierced Christ's side.
Dude, with that vague of instructions, they would have found anything and been like, this is it.
I think that's the argument that a lot of historians make.
This is the broken piece of pottery that Mary used to feed baby Jesus.
this is the glass from the perfume flask that was broken over the feet
Right.
of Jesus. Yeah,
Right.
they were gonna find something. But yeah, they found this, but it cannot be understated that this was a absolute 180 for the Crusaders, who were suddenly like, God is with us.
Yeah.
Like, God is with us, and we are doing his will. He has not abandoned us, and we're gonna rip it right
Yeah,
now. Like, we're just gonna go for it.
they found a shard of steel.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that
I'm
was-
being snooty. We listen and we,
we
don't
listen
judge.
and we don't judge. That's right.
But man,
So 24th of June, we're very close to the end. They're still on the brink of collapse. They're going to send two envoys out to speak to the commander of the Muslim army. They're going to send an Eastern Christian because they think, all right, this guy plays no sides. He's not a Westerner like us. He's not a Muslim like them. He comes and he says, listen, we're not in a good place. We've been dealing with famine and all that junk. You guys, you look happy. You look healthy. Let's just arrange a little agreement. You guys retake the city. We'll hold the door open for you. And then you guys just let us pass through. No hostility, no fighting. We're good. And the General Kerboga is basically like, if you guys want to leave the city, you're going to have to fight your way out. And so the Christians are like, all right, they're basically preparing for what they assume is going to be a suicide mission. They're like, we're going to leave. We're going to charge these freaking Muslim dudes. And if God kills us, well, at least we'll go to heaven because we're fighting a war. So they're just ready to do it. And what's amazing is a combination of their like Mario like sparkling mushroom superpowers of like intensity because they found the Holy Lands and everything else. They're gonna charge and have all the zeal and passion in the world. But the biggest thing that's gonna happen is that Kerboga, the general, is gonna make the dumbest mistake he could, which is that because his army is positioned so far back, all he needs to do is wait for the Crusaders to advance forward enough so that they can counter and be as effective as possible. But what happens is, as he's watching, he recognizes that the Crusaders are starting to gain some momentum, and so he rushes the main army out to meet them when they're unprepared and kind of flustered, and the Crusaders just mow right through them. And they lost their nerve. They've got Jesus and the Holy Lance. There's stories of like the saints running with them.
Are you serious, dude? This
100%.
is sick.
This is like some Infinity War. Like there's visions of like Saint George and like the warrior saints just like for Narnia. and they
seems
defeat
to
the
be
army.
a common theme in these battles that they keep having is that the Seljuks, for as crazy as they were, these dudes from Western Europe were crazier. And they just did stuff that like surprised them, like running out of the city. Like you don't really do that when you're besieged by a massive army and starving and having fasted for 5 days. Like they just launched out of there and totally caught them off guard.
Yeah, I mean they literally tried to negotiate surrender. Like they were basically like, if you don't kill us, we'll let you have your stuff back. And yeah, this was like the definition of a last ditch effort. And they it was a
Dude,
remarkable,
this is like
crazy
in the
victory.
horn of Helm's Deep, Tommy. When they're like, the dawn's about to happen. They don't know Gandalf's right over the hill.
Yeah, no, Gandalf in this case left and went back to Constantinople.
Oh, he did.
I was gonna say, is Gandalf the lance? Because that's possible.
No.
Gandalf is that shard of metal.
The lance is the shard of Narsil here.
Okay. All right. Last little thing I'll share. I know we're only 53 minutes. Okay. I thought we were longer.
So they mow through them, and then what happened? Like they just wipe out that army because they all get shattered and scattered?
Pretty much. Yeah.
No way.
The Muslim army got kind of flustered, and I don't know if they retreated or if the Crusaders just mowed through. I mean, like, it's literally crazy. They were so outmanned. I don't have the numbers, but they had lost a massive portion of their army at this point. So yeah. little epilogue is that again, one of the issues is that there's going to be this kind of awkward delay before the Crusaders leave Antioch because they're going to argue about what to do with the city. Because Raymond of Toulouse is another one of the big time kind of counts, and he's like, I mean, I've been kind of feeling maybe leading this place. I don't know about you guys. I've been thinking about it, but we all know Bohemond has kind of already been been the head honcho. He's kind of our like I was the one that got the mole in there. And so there's this weird like popularity contest thing that is just so strange but needs to be mentioned that so Raymond and Bohemond, they've already agreed. Forget the Greeks. We're not giving this place back to the Byzantines. This is our place now. So they're basically just arguing about who gets to take it over, and who gets to stay, and who has to lead the Crusaders to Jerusalem. Raymond and Bohemond really want to stay and take it over. Raymond decides, he's like, well, I'm not as popular as Bohemond, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like hitch my wagon to this guy, Peter Bartholomew. He's the weird peasant kid who found the Holy Lands. The problem with Peter Bartholomew is like he's like constantly having these like weird ecstatic visions, and
Great.
and he's just, and his visions seem to be getting like a little bit more and more unhinged to the points where people aren't really like buying what he's saying. And so they suggest, which very logical, I guess this was a fairly common medieval practice, which is a literal trial by fire, which is basically if God is with you, then you can walk through these flames and come out untouched. And so the idea was, well, Peter's making all these claims about having visions of the saints and of Jesus and of this holy lands, but now we think he might be a little crazy, so we're going to make him walk through these flames. And there are two stories about what happens when Peter walks through the flames. One is that he walked through the flames untouched, and then an angry mob attacked him and killed him. The other, can you guess, Taylor?
He just walked in and got engulfed.
Is that he just burns to death. So
Oof.
depending on who you listen to, I guess. But the problem, the lasting legacy for this is that this kind of tanked Raymond of Toulouse's reputation. And so he was like, all right, I guess Bohemond can be the prince.
I mean, kind of biblically in tune. One of your fans is like super loud all of a sudden, but kind of biblically in tune in that the
Mine?
I'm not sure.
Mm.
If you have a false prophet amongst you, Deuteronomy says to put him to death. So they may have had that in mind, where it's like, dude, you keep like having these visions, so why don't we just see if you can go through the fire, see how that goes.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool to have a little bit more developed theology of discerning that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like the whole like, if she's a witch, she floats. If she's not, she sinks. Like it's kind of got that.
Yeah, dude. What
Yeah.
else? What? What was it? The way when Monty Python just shouts out, or not Monty Python, King Arthur shouts out, "A duck!"
She turned me into a goose.
A newt.
A newt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I think this whole thing begs the question: was God on their side? And I have a really hard time at this point looking at all the evidence, despite everything. The little piece of metal they found that's the Holy Lance, like, despite the massacring of the civilians, I'm like, maybe God really was on their side for this.
Oh yeah.
Because that is, what a wild turn of events to still have victory.
Yep.
Look, like, I think it's a dangerous precedent to look at results and say that that's a sign that like God was on. So because we live in a world of like statistics and numbers and stuff like that. Like random things happen all the time. I don't think they're always a sign that God is like in favor of something. I think if we apply that metric, then there's a lot of really uncanny things that suddenly become ordained.
So we can put you
I
down
don't
for
know.
John says God was not on the side of the Crusaders.
I don't think he was on anyone's side here, dog.
I think the Lord works through very imperfect people all the time. And I think it's since we're closing, we don't have time to get into a debate. I'll just throw out like it's probably good that the Ayatollah is getting overthrown. Does that mean that the United States is always the good guy?
Of course not.
No.
Yeah.
You know, did sinful people fire those missiles? And there's probably people with bad motives involved in that. Yes. But at the end of the day, maybe we'll see a healthier government in place that leads to more human flourishing for the Iranians.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. Like, I think I'm wrestling with the black and white idea that like God is on one team's side and not on another team's
I know
side.
he's not on the Muslim side.
I mean, I definitely don't think he's on the Muslim side, but I also don't know if he's on the side of Christians who are doing a lot of very seemingly non-Christ-like things.
Yeah, well, obviously they didn't keep Jerusalem. They didn't. It's not like this is the story about how the Middle East became a Christian, place of prosperity.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the
So-
Crusades, by and large, aside from the First Crusade, are like massive failures. So like, if we're saying that God's on their side because they won Antioch, well then why did he bail for the next 4 Crusades? Like,
Well, I don't know. See, that's where it gets confusing. I'm just saying this turn of events is so wild that I don't know, man. The Lord obviously wanted him to have Antioch.
I don't know, maybe because I mean God wants them to lose it pretty soon too. Because I don't know, like
I don't know.
this is where I just don't. I mean, this is like a bigger question. This is like God's involvement with providence and what's he pushing, what's he pulling on. Like that just seems kind of messy because we could say that everything that happens is what God wants to happen, but I don't know. Does God?
Yeah,
want
so you're
Jerusalem
right.
To be sacked and
There's a lot of nuance required, and but
I do think
I'm
God
just-
wants good things. I think God wants justice
Yeah.
to be done. I also think that the justice that we're seeing here is at best imperfect.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Good storytelling there.
Thanks, man. That was fun. That was a lot. Next week we're gonna have Taylor leading us through the Siege of Jerusalem,
That's
which
right.
is another big boy. And then we'll
That was like some 300 stuff.
Big time.
Yeah. So that'll be good.
And once again, we'll have to ask the question: was God on their side?
We might just need to dedicate a whole episode to just like let's just do like a reflecting on the First Crusade episode or something.
Is your
like
wife
that.
playing with the lamp?
Mine?
There's like a hand going behind your.
It's mine. It's mine.
Oh, it's your hand.
it's
Oh,
me.
you were making like shadow puppets behind you.
Taylor's like, this is going to be bad news, dude. Please tell me that Annie's.
There is a there's an evil spirit in this room with me.
It's his own spirit.
Yeah.
Well, yep. So yeah, next week we'll have that, and then guys, throw in your comments what topic you'd love for us to hit. We could do a mini series, like 2-3 weeks tops. Yeah, boys.
Yeah, or we can do some scatterbrain stuff too. Whatever the people
Yep.
want.
If you don't, you're just gonna get random Baptist things from Taylor.
That's right. Nobody wants that.
So vote now.
No. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back real soon with some more good stuff.
Bye bye.
God bless you.